Hello and welcome to part 5 of our Songs of Syx playthrough in the great city of Foremenlore. We actually have 100 people now, so I guess we're still not a city, but we're definitely quite a nice sized village and we're getting there. Last episode we managed to get our ore set up. We're starting to make some charcoal, or just coal, I guess. Charcoal, coal, basically the same thing, isn't it? Not really, but you know, it burns and that's the main thing. Going forward, we need to look at what we're going to do. Currently, we're having a little bit of an issue with our food. We only have 3 days of food left. The majority of that is actually our imported fruit, so we have to be a little bit canny about that. Now, admittedly, we haven't had our farms unload for the year, so hoping that when they come through, that will improve things a little bit for us. We're probably actually going to build another vegetable farm over here. We won't be able to do that just now, but as soon as we get the vegetables from our harvest, that should hopefully be enough that we can use it to build that. Otherwise, I think things are going okay. We still have quite a lot of grain, so I'm not so worried about the food. We just need to get our bakers to actually be able to make it into bread, and then we'll be able to use that bread to feed our people. It would be nice to have a little bit of a bigger stockpile, but we'll just have to see. How are we doing for our speaker? Our speaker isn't very high load, fantastic. And overall, people are pretty happy, especially after the bribes that we were giving them last game. And our laboratory is working. Hopefully our science is going up. It's kind of staying steady about 170-ish, which is fine. We don't want it dropping, but we prefer if it would go up, preferably. We need to have another little think as well about what we're going to do. Now that we have some coal, and we've also started to import our iron ore, we might want to potentially build a metal smithy, just so we can start to produce metal. Because I think that will be a good way for us to actually start making some decent-ish money. So we could build just a little small one here just next to the pasture. And you can see here, so usually I don't have this issue with my buildings in that I don't build them wide enough. I like to have like a little courtyard, as I said before. But if you build it too much, you'll have this little extra bit in here, which means it'll cause increased upkeep. But you can get around that by just putting down another wall, which we'll do just now. So let's just build a small furnace. We've got a couple of auxiliary furnaces as well, just to improve the efficiency. And a nice little storage as well. Fantastic. And we'll door that up, make sure that's there. Don't pay any attention to the fact that there is a mass grave right next to it. That just is happenstance. That has nothing to do with what's currently going on. So we need 24 vegetables. It seems we've had a little bit of a harvest for our vegetables. Looks like our fruit is still working, but hopefully we will get a nice amount of fruit from that. We should get a bunch of grain as well. We'll finish up this metal smelter, and we'll finish up this vegetable farm. And then once we've done that, I think we'll maybe think about increasing the size of our bakery. We have got the grain. We're not going through the grain by the time the harvest is going to be coming in for the next one, so we need to have a little think about how we can best use that. And the best use of it is, of course, feeding our own people. Yep, there we go. They're harvesting there. We're getting a bunch more fruit in. The good thing about the fruit being the one that we have a lot of is it will help us with our kids. Which we have 10 children just now, so hopefully we'll have some more growing up soon. It'll take a little while for them to actually finish, but should be fine. We've got our grave done as well. It should hopefully make people a little bit happier. And there we go. That's the fruit being brought into the warehouses. Fantastic. There we go. You can see our number of days of food starting to leap up. This will continue to happen. We'll have these sort of boons and busts when it comes to our stockpile of food. It's just what's going to happen when you're relying so much on seasonal farm work. As it comes for people, we're actually at -1 people just now, so yeah, it looks like they are just taking it from our nursery, which is okay. We've still got enough fruit there that people are being fed, especially the children. We don't want children dying if we can help it. And our metal smithy is finished as well. That's great. So now that will start to make us some iron bars. We can see we've actually already got 3, which is great. We'll kind of cut into our export of iron a little bit, and the temperature is rising to an extreme level in the summer, or I guess autumn at this point. So things are getting a little bit hotter. That's okay, we can deal with that. We're doing well so far. We don't seem to be having many deaths. Our research is growing ever so slightly. It's a very, very slow process, but it is going up. And more importantly, the number of clothes that we have is also going up. The fact that we've got this many clothes is a great, great boon for us. We can sell that if we want. It'll make people happier. We could even say, hey, you can actually have access to better levels of clothing if we want, but I think 2 at the moment is okay for everybody. And how are we doing for our raw resources? So we're doing fine for wood. We've got a full stockpile of that. We're doing okay for stone. That's going to be kind of going away so we may need to collect some more at some point. But with the smithy done, we'll start to produce a couple of these metal bars. We can use these metal bars for other things. We could build potentially a stockade as well. Could be an idea to build a stockade just so we can, you know, say that we have a little bit of law inside our city. So I think we will. Let's do that. Where can we build the stockade? Should we maybe build them next to the bakery? Yeah, kind of over here between the bakery and the hunter's hut. There we go. It's fine. Good stuff. Yep, so we'll build that there. Takes 1 guard, can hold 8 prisoners. Nice and easy. And we'll just get to work on that. We are running a little bit low on workers, which is a little bit concerning. Especially if, yes, so it has... This is the issue that you have with nurseries, is that they are very, very low on the priority. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that they're on a high priority so that people are actually working it. The only issue is you've got to make sure that you're going the right way for it. The higher it is, the more likely people are working in it because it's a higher priority, not the lower one. So it's like number 1 isn't like the first priority, it's just it's actually the lowest priority, which is a little bit strange. It kind of works counterintuitively how I would kind of think of it, but you know, it's fine. Hopefully with that jailer, we should get a little bit more people liking the fact that we've got a little bit of law in here now. Let's have a little look. So they're happy about equality, they are not happy about law. I guess because it's just a stockade, so it's just for jailing people. But the fact that we have it means that we're ready for it. We could build a slaver. But we're really kind of looking for guard posts, which we need marble, we need armor for, so we're going to have a little think about that. Interestingly enough, it only requires leather armor now that they've differentiated between leather and plate armor. As well as the different weapon types, like you've got your flanks, you've got your balkatas, your warhammers, your shields, your bows. Used to be just bows, weapons, and just base armor, from what I remember. And how are we doing on food? So, yep, we've got a large amount of grain. We could really do with some more bakers, so I think we probably will do that. Let's just slow it down a little bit while we do this, because we're going to need to refurbish this room. And we'll make sure as well, what we're building this out of wood. Do we want to start building out of stone? We could certainly start building out of stone. Yeah, let's do that. So let's just expand the bakery slightly. Yeah, we'll kind of do that, and then we'll leave just a little bit of a sort of central courtyard here. That should be nice. Yep, knock down those walls. Get a nice floor plan on the go. Add in auxiliary oven, which we probably should have had there before anyway, but never mind. And we'll add in some more ovens. Means we can currently have 5 employees. We'll add and make sure we've got our door over here, and that we've got our little door down here. So we've already got storage. Let's add another auxiliary oven in just so we can ensure the efficiency. Yep, and that should be good. We could expand this a bit further, but 10 employees, we're already -2 in terms of our deficit. So let's just do that. It's going to take up a lot of our stone. It's going to take a bit of time as well. And we've got a nice little courtyard there we can use for some haulers when we have the workforce in order to do that. Our research is dipping slightly, but I think that's just because of the fact that we don't have enough people working in our laboratory. But we should be absolutely fine. Our stockpile of metal is growing, which is very, very nice. We should be able to start selling that shortly. Might even start selling that more than the ore or any of the other things. So let's just double check. We're exporting our furniture, that's fine. We're exporting clothes, that's fine. We're exporting our iron, and we're importing some clay, which is also good. I'm very concerned about the amount of food that we have now. This is coming into winter. We've had our harvest. We don't have very much food at all because we're not making any bread. So let's make sure that we're actually going to be importing some vegetables as well, just so we can get around this kind of slump that we're going to get while we're refurbishing our bakery. Maybe upgrading it to stone walls wasn't the best idea at this time, seeing as we needed to get it up nice and quick, but we should get it done fairly shortly. Once we have that done, we will churn through that grain. We could always just import grain in order to make bread, and that'll be absolutely fine. Look at them go. Fantastic. Great work, yeah, guys. Keep it up. Yep, we've only got the 1 day of food, and that's thanks to our imported fruit, which we also need to keep the babies alive. So, something to keep in mind. But we're clearing this out. We're nearly finished our construction here. And once we have that done... Oh, okay, you give us become colleagues. We have to give them some money, some clay, some weapons. Okay. Yeah, we pledged not to attack you. I think I will accept this. Given that these are our only neighbour and we're really quite reliant on them for trade at the moment, I think I will accept that. The money isn't nice, like it's about half our treasury. But stone we can deal with. We can deal with the fact that we're giving away some leather, some coal. I think that's a good deal. Yes, let's accept. Okay, and with that, we've actually become associates with Kennis to the south. We will potentially take over Kennis later on, but probably more likely actually Heikenridge will be our next, or our first foray. But that's far, far into the future. Anyway, let's keep going. That's the bakery done. We've got to make sure that we've got enough people here. Yep, we got the 2 guys there. Fantastic. Let's not set an amount. Just make sure that they're working away. If they're working away, that means that we have food. And that's the main thing. We've got our import vegetables. We've got our fruit import as well. They're going to keep us up. It's just unfortunate that that's taking a lot of our money. But yes, we've managed to get our guys working away. Fantastic. We may even decide to increase the amount of bakers. And I might even put them on overtime. I'm considering it. To put it on overtime. Just to make sure that we've got the bread being churned out. We've got the grain. We just need food. But probably this is actually fine. I'd love to get the upgrade in order to upgrade our bakery here, but unfortunately we do not have the research for it at the moment. If I remember correctly, it is, what is it? It's like, yeah, here it is. 250. We are currently kind of sitting about 190, and we're not going to get that while we don't have enough workers. So unfortunately we're going to be a little bit reliant on food imports for a little bit, but we're starting to get our bread out. People will be happy the fact that we get bread. I'm wondering if we maybe just decide, hey, let's maybe bribe our humans again. Yeah, let's maybe give them a bribe, prove their happiness a little bit. We don't have the most money at the moment, but we can certainly change that by just adding in another export depot, which we'll probably add in over to the side here, like so. And we'll start to sell off a little bit of our iron bars, because we've got 50 in storage. They're worth quite a lot. Just because you can use them to make things like weapons. They're useful for like higher tier buildings, etc. So it will be more cost effective for us to export that rather than exporting just the pure iron ore. Especially because we're not really making that much iron ore per day. We're making a little bit more. Apparently we're making a surplus over our metal smelter, but whether or not we are remains to be seen. Yeah, we'll get this export up and we'll make sure that we are exporting our iron. You can see here the price here, 124 per bar of iron is going to massively improve our treasury, especially when the traders start coming around. And that should be a big help. So far, we don't have anybody in the stockade. That's good. That's probably because we don't have anybody actually actively patrolling, but you hope that makes people just a little bit happier. And how are we doing on fooding? We're sitting at 4, and that's purely through our imports. But we're making bread. We are going through the grain. It's just everybody loves bread. Humans especially do love bread. So they're just going to be snapping that up as soon as they get a looking. And let's just copy this grain farm. So we'll have to maybe dig into the water here a little bit, unless we just want to... Yeah, I guess we can just build around it. It's nice and fertile here, so yeah, we'll do that. So let's just build down a little bit. Kind of hugging the water a little bit. I just delete it. Whoops. The amount of times I do this is staggering, but hey ho. There we go. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll build that. Gonna need some grain for that, but we do have grain available to us, even before the harvest. And we should get a fair amount of harvest this year as well. If we get enough bakers that we're producing enough bread from the grain that we get in order to keep people quite happy, then I'm happy as well. At that point, it just means that our people aren't starving. We're not completely reliant on food imports in order to play the game. Other than that, you know, things are going pretty well. We haven't really increased our population that much. People are a little bit annoyed. Their loyalty isn't quite as high as it wants to be. I think it's because they're looking for more services. Yeah, they're struggling to get to markets. They haven't got the best services when it comes to the wells, but I think that's just because they're not upgraded. We could potentially think about upgrading it, which needs bathing and is going to take us 80 clay. Oof. Maybe not then. Maybe not. That's quite expensive. In terms of clay, we're currently sitting at 35 clay. So, yeah, we'll maybe hold back on that one just a little bit. But we've got our metal ready to export, 7 whole metal ready to export between the furniture and the metal. That's what's keeping us afloat just now. That's what's putting bread on the table, or fruit and vegetables in this case. The bread, at least we make at home. But we're just going to work away. We're just going to increase our population as much as we can, continue researching. Our research levels are dropping ever so slightly. You can just see it slowly tick on down. Just from the fact that we don't have everybody working in our laboratory, or at least as many people as we want. We're currently 5 people short in terms of our workforce. But once we manage to get enough research, we can upgrade our bakery. It means we potentially need less people working in the bakery, which would be very, very nice. And we can just continue to work with that. We're running a little bit out of grain, and we haven't even started producing that grain, so at least that means we're getting through it, which is better than just letting it sit there to rot. And we should have a fairly nice harvest coming in. What time is it now? It's about summer, so we should have another nice little harvest coming in. I do always like games like this where it's like you've got your city builders, you've got your farms. It's just kind of nice to watch the farms get put in. It's one of the things I really like about Manalords, actually. It's just how it looks when it comes to farming. I know there's issues with the mechanics and that. I'll maybe make a video on it at some point. I did do a little community post on it when it first came out because I was playing it. I played a lot of it, to be fair. I really enjoyed it. I've been looking forward to that game for a while. It's got its issues, but overall it's a pretty solid game. Very much respect the developer for what he managed to do with such limited workforce. Just doing it pretty much by yourself the entire time is pretty impressive. But hey ho. Back to Foremenlore. What's happening in Foremenlore rather than this random world of Manalords? So we're still just making our grain farm. We've run out of grain, but we should get a fairly good harvest. 133 there is expected. We could bring the number of workers in these farms down. That would help with our workforce, but I like having the multiple workers. Even though they work as farmers, they will also work as odd jobbers when there's nothing to farm. And I quite like having that just to improve buildability around your kind of central district, or your farming district rather. We will start to move forward towards this gap in the river here. This is where I'm thinking we will kind of start farming along here. We'll create an irrigation network along here and start farming along there once we expand a little bit further out. But just now we're quite centralized around our throne, around our initial kind of city. But we will get around to it. As far as our food stockpiles, they have grown ever slightly, and I think that's part thanks to that vegetable farm has actually managed to get some of its harvesting, as well as this vegetable farm. Fertility here isn't quite as good. You can see here that these guys have pretty good fertility. That's because they're quite so close to the river, whereas this one is nowhere near as close, so the fertility is a little bit lacking. This kind of brown land here, or sort of yellowy land, has only got 33% fertility, so it's not the best for that. We should potentially also think about creating our woodcutter at some point. We can see that we are starting to, well, we haven't run out of wood, nowhere near, but we're no longer maxed out when it comes to wood, and we are using just a small amount of wood every single day, just from our charcoaler, just from our bakery, and also our furniture maker. So we are going to start slowly running through that wood stockpile, but we'll just have to see how we do. How the humans looking? They're looking a little bit happier, and I think that's just purely because of the fact that we have a bunch of our food days going up. We got 8 food days. You can see that they like it. Having a higher number will mean that it's like it. It will increase their loyalty, make everything better. What we could do is we could say to them, hey, start picking yourselves up some furniture. We've got some varied exports when it comes between our clothes, our iron, and our carpentry stuff, our furniture. Start picking yourself up a little bit of furniture. That should hopefully improve their housing a little bit and make them a little bit happier as well. We'll just have to see what happens from there. Unfortunately, we really only have bread and meat, and we don't have a lot of meat. We're pretty much entirely reliant on our hunter in order to get meat, or our auric pasture, but this is a very small pasture. There's only like, what, 8 animals here, so it's a lot of work for how many animals that we've got going on. They're not going to be producing us much meat at all. We could potentially think about making another pig pasture here, which could be a good thing to do, though we are still very much out of workers. We've got to be a little bit careful about expanding quite so much in terms of our workforce when we don't have people to fill it. Let's give it some more handouts. Let's just say, hey, everybody gets some. That'll increase their happiness by quite a lot, because they'll be happy the fact they got some free money. And we're not really relying on the import of food at the moment. We've got enough stockpile that I think we should be alright. And if we can use this to then get a couple more guys to come in, that would be fantastic. How are our children doing? They're all still just being kids. Fantastic. They should be growing up fairly shortly, another couple of years, and then they'll be ready to go and become good workers for us. And how are we doing here? So we've finished up that grain farm. Fantastic. That should mean that we get more grain. How are we looking for grain? Have we harvested it all? It looks like we've harvested it all. Only 59 grain. That's a little bit worrying in that we are kind of relying on that as not our primary food source, but certainly our tertiary food source. I mean, I'd almost say at this point it's almost a secondary food source. We are getting a little bit in terms of fish, and that is really, really nice. That is helping us quite a bit. But we're not getting that much in fish, like per day. They're not producing that much. So we're just going to be a little bit canny about that. We have got a decent amount of cotton, so we're not really having to import it anymore. And I think it's just because the weaver isn't producing very much, or isn't producing very fast anyway. But that will change once we kind of expand out and we start bringing it around here. We'll expand the warehouse out here and make another doorway into this sort of central courtyard. Maybe kind of expand it over just a little bit just to make sure that we can have a little bit more of the warehousey goodness. But overall, things just going pretty well, just ticking along. We're just really kind of lacking on workers, but we are getting some immigrants coming in, which is great. That's exactly what we want. Our furniture stockpiles are dropping, but that's a mixture of exports and the fact that we're giving out some of our furniture to our citizens, which will also make them happier. And that should hopefully kind of waylay their not so great feelings about how many food days we have left, especially as we're starting to come into winter. But the grain stockpile is staying for now. We've got a good amount of our manufactured goods that we're selling, so we should be starting to make some decent money, which is very much appreciated. We do need to think about using water. Okay. We will give you 11,000 denarii and 2 Crotonian slaves. By golly, yes, thank you. Did I ever mention these guys are my favorite guys ever? Very, very nice to us. Those 2 slaves will help out a lot. Will slightly piss off the Crotonians, but meh, that's alright. But on the plus side, it should make it so that our humans are a little bit happier about that. Just from the fact that there's another 2 slaves. Let's have a little look at their loyalty. So slaves have a slightly different way that they work in comparison to normal people, in that they work off of submission rather than happiness. You have to make sure that they're of a good amount of submission, otherwise there will be slave riots. Your people could die. It's not very good. But those 2 slaves will mean that we have 2 more Crotonians working in the fields. It frees up some more people to do some research just in time as well, because it looks like our research is really dropping. We've got to be careful of that. And now we're only 2 people under our workflow limit. And with that, we could actually say, hey, thanks for the money. Let's just give out half of it to the citizens. This will massively improve their happiness. Boom, there we go. Fantastic. And with that, that should make it far more likely they're going to immigrate into the city. We're at 105 at the moment. Let's just see how we do. 106. Good, good. In you come, guys. In you come. We just want some more people to come in. We're all right for food. We're importing it. Everything's fine. You just come in 107. Perfect, perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. Getting these extra people in will be a massive help. It means we can even potentially build another farm, sorry, not a farm. A pasture, and I think we'll use the entelons. They're basically just pigs. But pigs are very good because they produce a lot of meat. And we can use probably this bit over here. This is going to be a fairly big pasture kind of surrounding the cows. Put a nice little gate on it. It's going to cost us a fair amount of wood, and we'll make sure as well that we produce just a couple of huts. Oh, we only need the one. Perfect. Alright, yeah, so we'll build this pasture here. It's going to take us a while to do, but in terms of the wood, it should kind of almost repay itself just purely from the amount of wood that we're going to be chopping down. Otherwise, we can just chop down a little bit more of this forest. We have the people now, especially now. Look at that. 111 people. The humans are just storming in. They're like, you know what? This place sounds like a great place. You hear how much money they're giving out to everybody. This is great. Let's move here. This is fantastic. Thinking of imports, I'm going to stop the importing of cotton and instead start importing grain. Grain is a little bit expensive, but we want to make sure that now, especially that we're getting these extra people in, the bakers have enough to do what they need to do. And that should be all good. Let's have a little look at this pasture. Just kind of working away all the farm hands when they're not, you know, planting or sowing or harvesting. They're just going to be sitting there and doing that. Bunch of stone on this grain farm. You might want to, you know, get rid of that. Stones aren't very good for your seed drills. Not the thing they would be using seed drills. They're probably just doing it by hand or potentially using an orc to help them. But yeah, everything seems to be going fairly-ish well so far, especially with that large injection of cash from our lovely, lovely neighbour, who we are now friends with, so we will no longer talk ill of them until the time arises. Because they are obviously our friend. We've always been friendly with them. I've never once said anything bad about them, honest. Maybe in a fit of anger, but nothing as I meant. It's taken quite a while to chop down all these trees. This is quite a heavily forested area, but you can see here that the amount of stacks of wood that we're getting here, they should pretty much already pay for this pasture. And having these pigs don't produce any leather like the aurochs. The aurochs produce both meat and leather. These guys are here purely just to produce animals and to produce meat. So we'll be able to use the animals that we've collected from the aurochs to help fill up this pasture. They'll start breeding up. When they get to a certain age, they'll then get slaughtered. Give us some meat. That'll be fantastic. Because when it comes to food, how are we looking? So we're running out of grain quite considerably. Our previous stockpile has been blown through pretty quick, to be honest. Which maybe isn't the best of things. But the main thing is that we still have food. We still have 4 days of food. We've still got our imports coming in. We've got a good amount in our treasury. We're building up the second pasture just in order to really capitalize on this per fertility farming area. We will probably move this at some point as well. But for now, we kind of want to make sure everything's central. We don't really have the logistics to be carting things around. Or more importantly, actually, the people to be carpeting things around. All willy-nilly. Still nobody in the stockade, but that's fine. It looks like the humans have stopped moving in. It's probably just due to the number of immigrants that have come in recently. Yeah, you can see here that after that lovely bribe, they've kind of dropped down to 65 loyalty. I would prefer if they're a little bit higher. I prefer if they're in the 70s if possible, but we'll take what we can get. And how are we looking here? Yep, still just chopping away. There's a lot of trees there. But we should be able to store what's there and then use the rest to create this pasture. And that'll be absolutely fine. Overall, things looking pretty well. That massive injection of cash has helped us tremendously. Not only did it give us 2 extra slaves as well as all that cash, it then let us get in a bunch more people. I think we jumped from like, what was it, 104, 105, all the way to 115. So, good going, lads. And the humans are still breeding. They've still got our children there. Hopefully they will start to be no longer children, if possible. I mean, we've got a low age. How many is that? We've got 3 people aged 7 to 10, so we've got a little bit more before they reach the ripe old age of 12. And start to get to work. Sooner rather than later, please. Is one of the benefits of having the Garthemes, in that they are very easy to please, and they breed very, very quickly. And they also don't mind really eating other races, which makes rearing, not livestock, but livestock, a completely valid option for them. It's quite funny. I say funny, obviously it's horrific, but it's funny in the context of the game. We shouldn't do that here unless we fall on very, very, very dark times, which I'm hoping we will not. Okay, come on guys, chop chop. Quite literally, you're chopping trees. Come on, chop chop. Taking a long time to build this pasture, but that's okay. We're still stockpiling a little bit of animals just from our aurochs, so there is a fairly high decay rate. Only 25 when it's in the warehouse. I do like these changes that they've made to the spoil rate, because it did feel it was a bit, not overwhelming, but very heavy-handed, especially to begin with. It's like you'd have your initial stockpile of goods that you would get, and you'd put them in your warehouse, and you just watch them just dwindle away, and there was nothing you could do about it. At least the fact that they're in a warehouse means that they don't dwindle quite as much. Is a very, very good thing. Alrighty, so we've nearly cleared this out, this lovely big pasture. It's not even that big of a pasture, but it's bigger than the other one that we have, and this should hopefully help us with our meat stockpiles. Yep, just chop away, boys, chop away. And once we have a bit more of a secure meat source, that should hopefully make people a little bit happier, means they're more likely to get their favorite foods. How are we doing over here in the food stall? Yep, the load isn't too high, and the market load isn't too high over here as well. What about down here? This one is a bit too high, so we do need to think about expanding that out. Yeah, everybody seems to be using this one, so we'll maybe actually just make another food stall, but the question is, where are we going to put it? We could, funnily enough, put it down here next to the farms. That would cut off our irrigation. Let's maybe just think about putting it next to one of our imports. Yeah, let's just put it next to our imports over here. Just another little food stall here, just to kind of like, you know, give people there. This is like the main road, so when people are working in the smelter, people are working in the farms, they'll be coming up along here. They'll want to either come over to this food stall, or they'll be wanting to come over here for this one. And that should hopefully just make things a little bit better. Yep, and there we go, got the vendor in. He's going to grab a bunch of food, start delivering it to people, and that should make people a little bit happier as well. Better access to the food that they want is always a boon. How are we doing for grain? We got our harvest on the way, so we've got our fruit harvest done, our vegetable harvest is underway. We should be starting to think about harvesting up our grain. We should have a good stockpile, about 300 grain or so from this harvest, if the estimation is correct. And that will be a big, big help. That will mean that we can potentially even get more bakers on the bakery, just to make sure that we're getting enough bread out to satiate everybody's needs. 7 days of food, thank you very much. That's all the fruit and the vegetables being harvested from the fields. As well as the cotton. We are... okay, the cotton hasn't been fully harvested yet. That'll be why we're starting to run out a little bit of cotton. Gonna have to keep a little eye on that, because obviously that is from our weaver to tailor pipeline in order to make our clothes, and our clothes are one of our bigger exports. And here we go. Pasture is done. I wonder if we could potentially even say to the Crotodians, hey, we actually kind of want a few more of you guys. Can you guys just be a little bit happier? Yeah, let's just give them like just a little handout. It's not even that much in terms of a handout. Yeah, here you go. There you go. So their loyalty should increase. That wasn't very expensive. Just because there's not very many of them, that should hopefully get a few more of them coming in. What about Dondorians? The Dondorians will probably be a little bit harder to please. Only 800, actually. Yeah, there you go. Come on, more Dondorians, more Praetorians. We'll just keep giving you a little bit more money. Come on, there you go. Perfect. You know, you got to spend money to make money, and the best way to make money is get more people. Yeah, let's give a bunch more handouts to our humans as well, just so that we get over this kind of employment hump, especially with our new indolent field. It's not going to be making much in terms of meat just now, but that's only because there's not that many animals in it. But it will make it so that we get a bunch more animals, a bunch more meat, and they should skyrocket up our reserves very, very quickly. And you can see here the amount of grain that we've got. So let's open up the bakery. Let's make sure that we've got a bunch more people working in there. And that should help out quite a bit in terms of our food. Although they do have to walk a little bit in order to grab grain from this warehouse, which is a little bit of a shame. This is one of the reasons why you like to have haulers, kind of like when you've got your bigger guilds almost, like your sort of guild halls when you're creating food, which is one of the reasons why I like these little courtyards. They look cool. For one, it kind of like breaks up the city a little bit, but also they do actually have a gameplay reason as well. Okay, and I think things are going pretty well. Oh, a new level has been bestowed upon your name. Prontix of the great city of Foremenlore. And a Prontix is a conqueror. This means that we can start building our own rations. We've got an army supply depot. We can probably think about making our own militia now as well. Very, very good. We are the Prontix of this land, and we will start to show people our worth. Okay, and with that, it is saved. I think this is probably a good time to stop the episode. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you're enjoying the Songs of Syx, and as well, when we start to get our nobles in, let me know down in the comments if you'd like to be one of our nobles, and we'll get you in the game. But yeah, no, thank you very much for watching. If you like what we do here on the channel, consider becoming a member of the Burger Band for some early access to some videos, as well as some additional benefits on top of that. But the main thing is, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.